and I saw that there wasn't anything really like this, doing LGBTQ plus stuff for kids for the ages 3 to 7 that I'm looking at right now.
In this series, we systematically evaluate various claims as case studies in applied methodology. In this video, we will be considering documentation involving Lindsay Amer, the owner of the YouTube channel Queer Kid Stuff. A $170 million fine was issued to YouTube by the Federal Trade Commission recently, which brought children's content into sharp focus on the platform.
What COPPA does is it prohibits the collection of personally identifiable information from children under the age of 12 and under without verifiable parental consent. On the internet, though, you don't know who your users are. So what the COPPA rule more specifically does is where the content is directed to children, we are presuming that the users are 12 and under. So if you are the purveyor of child-directed content, we are presuming that your users are 12 and under and you cannot collect personally identifiable information from them without verifiable parental consent. If, however, you are a general audience platform like YouTube, you don't know what the content necessarily on your platform is. So we, under our rule and under the statute, you are only held liable if you have actual knowledge that the content is child-directed. So that's what
Andrew Smith, Bureau Director at the FTC, answered a number of questions during a press conference about the fine. He indicated that there is a difference between the way third-party advertisers and content creators are treated under the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPPA for short. According to him, while third-party advertisers only have liability if they had direct knowledge of children 12 and under on their platform and collected personal information from them without verifiable parental consent, content creators are strictly liable. This would include Amer. Smith indicated that there is a difference between child-directed content and what may be termed family-friendly content. While family-friendly content is subject to a specific knowledge requirement under COPPA, child-directed content is always subject to COPPA. He also mentioned some of the items the FTC considers in making a determination of whether they believe content to be child-directed or not, such as the presence of animated characters. However, public statements that particular content or a particular channel is child-directed would almost certainly make such considerations unnecessary. Amer, together with a number of other LGBT YouTube content creators, recently filed a class action lawsuit against Google and YouTube, alleging that these entities unfairly discriminate against the LGBT community. According to paragraph 173 of the court filing for the class action lawsuit, Queer Kid Stuff was created to serve children between the ages of 3 and 17, as well as their parents. This appears to indicate that Amer's content is child-directed. The name itself also suggests strongly that the content is in fact aimed at children. Paragraph 183 of the court filing of the class action lawsuit indicates that Queer Kid Stuff generated less than $500 per year, which appears to indicate that the channel is or was monetized. Furthermore, Amer gave a TED Talk entitled Why Kids Need to Learn About Gender and Sexuality. From the clips, it appears to indicate that Amer's content is in fact child-directed.
Queer Kid Stuff, where I make LGBTQ plus and social justice videos for all ages, and when I say all ages, I mean literal babies to your great-great-grandma. Now, I know what you're thinking. Whoa, they're talking about gay stuff with kids? Metaphors. We approach these ideas, to steal a phrase from an old professor of mine, from under the doorknob, getting down to toddler height and looking up at the great big world through their tiny little eyes.
This appears to be supported by a number of statements in various videos on the Queer Kid Stuff channel. We include a sample of clips here.
Queer Kid Stuff. at Queer Kid Stuff. Sharing. When someone asks you to share your toy with them, you can always say yes or no. When you're playing with someone, you should share your toys because it's a nice thing to do. But
it's okay, Lindsay. What do you want to talk about?
You can always let me know if you're feeling uncomfortable or unsafe, and you can always pause the video to talk to a friend or a grown-up, okay?
Amer posted an article on businessinsider.com on 11 July 2016. In the article, she states that she turned to YouTube in 2015 due to it being free and being a space with, and I quote, lots of children. She states that she found an opportunity to reach kids directly and indicates that she found it exciting to be able to bypass their more conservative parents. From the available information, it appears that Amer did not only create child-directed content for which personally identifiable information was collected, it also appears that she intentionally, deliberately, and systematically attempted to evade asking for any parental consent. Verifiable parental consent is a COPPA requirement. Smith indicated that channel owners are even more vulnerable to FTC investigations over suspected COPPA violations than the YouTube platform itself. In terms of Amer and Queer Kid Stuff activity off the YouTube platform, it appears that the queerkidstuff.com website sets 4 cookies on a user's device. One of these cookies is a persistent identifier, which appears to expire only after 2 years. Persistent identifiers generally have the capacity to track users across platforms. We were not asked to provide any form of age verification, neutral or otherwise, or any mechanism to provide affirmative consent for data collection, or even any mechanism to opt out of data collection. We did not note any indication of a privacy policy. COPPA requires a privacy policy detailing a number of aspects when a website or part of a website provides child-directed content. COPPA further requires that such a privacy policy must be displayed prominently. At the time of recording this, to the best of our knowledge, we do not have any current or any prior affiliations with any of the third parties mentioned in this video. We have used information within the public domain. Furthermore, the information we used was made public by the creator themselves.